That is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I love that. Hello, people on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're tuning in. You guys are getting a beautiful view of Thailand and a beautiful human in the picture. That is Amanda Biccum, who is an evolutionary coach, and we're getting ready to record an Enlightened Conversations podcast for you all. Give me 1 second, and we will start. I'm going to point my camera at the screen so that Instagram can tune in as well. Give
Nice.
everybody a chance to tune in live. The last, so I recorded one of these an hour ago, or 2 hours ago now. And Instagram's so funny. I don't know how much you do live videos on Instagram, but it's just it's become just like a bonus for me now, because if you don't save it like exactly right, or if something happens at the very end where they said your connection is starting to be not as strong, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
So.
That's a challenge. I used to have a Facebook, and that's where I spent the majority of like cultivating my community, was all on Facebook. And then I got kicked off Facebook, and I haven't been able to get back on. And I just had to basically let go of like 10,000 people who I was like nurturing and connecting with. And so Instagram has become my new platform, because it's the only one I really got right now.
Interesting. You got kicked off of Facebook for it. from things that you were sharing? That's why? Oh, you paused.
So did you.
There you go. I said, for you Facebook kicked you off because of things that you were saying?
Facebook doesn't, you don't know, like they don't tell you. Basically, I know that sexuality, which is something that I talk about, not a lot, but it is a primary part of how I support people.
Yeah.
And they're very strict. They're a lot more strict than Instagram. I also had some assistants supporting me, and that could have been a reason why as well. Like, they just basically booted me and didn't tell me, and you can write in and write emails and try to get your account back, but yeah, they don't really care. Nothing really reawakens that. So
I know how you can get around. It won't be the same account, but I know how you can get. I've had an account banned from Facebook before as well. Also because I was talking about things that were too sexual in nature for them.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I was trying to. Well, I basically put myself on blast, I guess, because I tried to run ads for it through the Facebook ads. And my account was like banned in like 24 hours. It was like quick. I was like, woo.
Yeah. So, I think it's really interesting that there's like such a repression. I mean, obviously there's a big, like, I believe that sexuality is like the really big underbelly to our human evolution and our human species. There's so much shame, so much guilt, so much fear, so much contraction, so much stereotype. I mean, but it's really interesting how, like, especially if you're talking around, which I'm sure you were, like, consciousness and conscious sexuality, and like really helping to help people become aware of this part of our human experience. And I think it's just interesting how banned it is on Facebook. Yeah. And I think that just says a lot about like where we're at and like how free really are we, For different sure. If we're like talking about child pornography, but obviously not what we're bringing into the space. So.
Yes. We're going to have a good okay, we're going to start this now because we're starting to go in places where I want to talk to you. Okay, so on Instagram, you're at Amanda Biccum, and that's it?
At Madame Biccum.
Oh, that's right. Madame Biccum. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All the technology.
All right, let's do it.
Thank the technology gods. Woo woo. Thanks for being here with us, supporting this mission, expanding human consciousness through the global network.
I have a really good story that technology always works out well for me because the universe wants all this out there. So
boom.
That's always my
I love
story.
seeing that in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody affirm that out there if you're sharing things that are uplifting, because I've heard other not as empowering stories, and I won't adopt that as my own. I just feel like the universe wants this out there.
Yes, I love it.
All right, let's do it. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and tonight where I am, but tomorrow where Amanda is out in Thailand. We have Amanda Biccum, who is an evolutionary coach, and she deals in sacred sexuality, and just an awesome human. I discovered her Instagram page not too long ago and immediately knew we'd have a fun conversation, and I reached out, and She obliged us to come be a guest, and we're going to have a fun conversation today and let it flow where it flows. So without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Amanda, and if you can share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, any of these good things.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for reaching out. And I was speaking into this earlier. I'm just so grateful for the power of this technological age. You know, it can be used for something that can be expansive and really enlightening, or it can be used for something that's really distracting and pulls you away from yourself. So I just want to start by saying thank you for creating this opportunity. And I'm really happy to be here.
You're awesome.
So, yeah, a little bit about my background. As you mentioned, I work in the field of sacred sexuality, but it wasn't always that way. I began my journey really through yoga and connecting to myself through yoga and meditation. And then from there, I started studying deep into nutrition. And I left for India and started studying Ayurveda and yoga from the traditional roots. And from there, I dove deeper into holistic nutrition, which is where I ended up getting my degree in, which was holistic nutrition. And then I started working with people with diseases like autoimmune diseases and gut health and skin issues. And then I realized I studied deeper into different types of spirituality, like Buddhism and Taoism and many types of spiritual understandings, deepening my connection to myself. And that's when I kind of really realized that there was a part that most practices, especially spiritual practices, were keeping out, which is the reason why we're all here. And this is our sexual energy. And in most religions or spiritual practices, oftentimes it's either not talked about or shamed or hidden. And it was really when I started to tap deeper into this powerful energetic force that is here that we cannot deny, that I started to realize that there was more to this than was really being shared about, you know, through most of the practices. And so super grateful for all the spiritual practices that have brought me to where I am, and my embodiment practices, and understanding, you know, the role that food and practice has on our ability to show up. And now I speak a lot more into sexual energy and actually what's behind that, which is the creative life force that births all things into life. Whether you want to bring babies or you want to bring passion projects or whatever it is, it's really rooted in, you know, our sacral energy, which is our creative energy.
I love it. I love it. This is my favorite conversation to have, Amanda. And you will discover this more and more about me as we have this conversation right now. And the reason for that is just knowing that we are all energetic beings, and you know we like to look at ourselves in the mirror and say that's Noelle or that's Amanda and that's whoever you are out there, and not realizing at some point, hopefully we all remember this, and this is why I do what I do. Just that we're seeing a physical avatar that's housing this non-physical energy that you may want to call source, spirit, God, universe, love, all that is, you know, infinite intelligence, whatever you want resonate with out there, nature, whatever feels good. And just knowing that that's who all of us truly are, and that's just made up of non-physical energy, and that energy is one that is who we are, we can feel, we can connect with, and when we are aware of that and we can allow that energy to be in the moment, flowing through us, be connected with it, how amazing this life experience can be, you know, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment is infinite, it's unlimited. And like when we can tap into these frequencies, which we have cool labels like, you know, happy, you know, excited, joyful, passionate, just words that we use to label frequency, to label energy. We realize that we can reach frequencies that we don't even have words to label, beyond bliss, euphoria, ecstasy, nirvana, but that's possible for all of us. I'm like, whoa, like I didn't even know that this was possible. And once you touch these frequencies, it's like, this is so much fun, this life experience. So I'm just very excited about this conversation. I always love talking about it because once we are aware of something, now we can explore it more or choose to, and now we have more choices. And that's why I love doing what I do, is just helping people have more awareness about how awesome this life is, and that, you know, you're not looking at just Amanda and Noelle as like the only humans that are this non-physical energy. It's like all of us here, everybody you see, we're just different
100%.
expressions of it. So I love this conversation so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for you, how did it go from, like, I'm always curious because I know all of us come to this life as little unconditional loving little babies, and we're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you know we're super present. We're just looking around and we're just, you know, enjoying life. We're not comparing ourselves to other babies, wondering why they look this way and we don't, or why they're bigger or taller, or whatever the case may be. And then for most of us, I won't say all, but most, we forget, you know, along the way, we start comparing ourselves and wondering if we're enough and feeling separate, even though we're not, and all of these things. How did your journey go? Like, did you go from unconditional loving little baby to what we're seeing in front of us now, like never forgetting and just evolving all the way, or was there a different path?
Yeah, there was a different path. Fortunately for me, it actually started really young. I feel really, really grateful for that. Basically, when I was 15, I was introduced to yoga. One of my best friends had surgery for his back, and they like fused some of his discs, and they said, you need to start doing yoga now, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems later. So he brought me into yoga, and this is kind of what really began to help me connect more than just my physical body, because I was always into sports and weights and all these things, dance, gymnastics, all that. But it was really what, like, kind of the message that yoga brought to me that helped me come to this core energy, as you were speaking into, that when I was just focusing on the physical, I wasn't necessarily tapping into. And then when I was 17, my older brother, he was 8 years older than me, he introduced me into meditation. And he didn't just introduce me into, like, notice your breath, like sit here in stillness or whatever. Like, he introduced me to the Merkaba. I don't know if you're familiar with the Merkaba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Recently.
So the Merkaba.
Recently,
yeah, it's
recently.
super powerful. Like, it's a very, very powerful, and it's based on sacred geometry and the flower of life. And this is like found in temples and spaces around the world. And so he introduced me to that. And then from there, my big, like, wake up call, if you will, I had already been kind of tapped into this, like, deeper understanding of what's beyond what we see. And I was 19, and I remember there was a lot of things happening in my life at that time, and I went out to a party, and there was like 30 or 40 of us there, and I remember feeling, when I came home, I felt more disconnected than I did when I was at that party. And I remember thinking to myself, how is it that I went out and everybody was hanging out, partying, drinking, whatever, and I feel more disconnected than if I would have just stayed home and been by myself. And it was in that moment that I realized that there was something that needed to shift, and that something that was, I could only do that. And so at 19, I quit drinking and I quit smoking. And, like, truth be told, when you're in university and you, like, stop doing all those things and you're like, hey, do you want to come over on a Friday night and have some tea? Like, nobody is really there, So that began my inner journey. And, I was a broke college kid, so all I got to do was start YouTubing, and I started YouTubing consciousness, and I found David Icke, and I discovered, like, lucid dreaming, and, I started reading Osho and Deepak and Eckhart Tolle, and, like, that was really, like, the initiation of me diving really deep into what has never really ended. It's just a continual evolution,
Wow. That's awesome. See, that's very interesting. The fact that you started at 19 is awesome. And yeah, like, I don't know many that that go on that route while there's all sorts of parties going around. I know I was not an example of that. I went to what was ranked the number 3 party school in the United States while I was there in San Diego. So,
San Diego State.
Yeah.
That's where I was, actually, also.
You were in San Diego? I love San Diego.
I lived on 51st, and it was in the ghetto, like, sure. Straight up ghetto. I was next to the prostitute motel, and that was, like, a really interesting experience also, because I was super broke. I used to work there was a sushi restaurant right on State Street, and I used to work there, and I lost my job, and I was living in the ghetto, and I couldn't go out, so I really literally had to go in. Like, I went super deep inside, and yeah, it was a blessing for sure. As most of these things, most of these really challenging, contracted, when you're like, why, universe, why? Like, is usually like just the beginning of some beautiful, beautiful expansion.
Absolutely. And I want to point out what Amanda just shared, as far as once we're open to that expansion and open to going within and discovering who we truly are, it's just a never-ending journey, and, like, cool things can be attracted to us from anywhere, from anyone, from anything, YouTube video, book, podcast, and someone just sharing something, someone that you're waiting across the street with could just mention something, and it's just awesome. Like, I love that so much for all of us, and it's just just having the awareness that there's more going on than what we physically see, like you mentioned, and then just being open and almost like a little kid, just excited for whatever comes on the adventure next. And great news for all of us, the adventure never stops. Like, none of us will be aware of all the truths of the universe, not in this one lifetime, that's for sure. And we don't need to. Like, we will attract to us what is useful for us on our journey here and now, and we'll apply it if we choose, and we'll continue to go from there, and we'll attract other things, and just it can be a beautiful journey if we allow it to be. So I love that so much.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So for you, how did you go from like the awareness and the light bulb, turned on for you, and now wanting to like share it with other people, and now doing what you do with sacred sexuality? Like because it's one thing to become aware, and I think it's really difficult to keep this stuff inside and not share it with the people that we care about. But you've obviously taken it further than that, and wanting to do it on as large of a scale as you want to do it and help as many people as you can. How does that kind of come into play?
Yeah, so I've always been like a natural teacher. I remember when we were in gym, we were in weights class when we were in high school, and I was like the one leading everyone, through the workshops. And I've always kind of had that polarity within me, or that magnetism of wanting to show up and support people, and knowing that I'm actually truly stronger when I have something to live for, when I have something to support. Which oftentimes is community for me, I hold myself more accountable, and I am more in alignment, and I show up more fully because it's not just about me. And so when I was 20, I finished or maybe I was 21, I finished my yoga teacher training, and I just did the yoga teacher training for my own personal growth and self-development. But what happened was people who I went to classes with and then would come to my like donation base, just trying out because I had to. They were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, your classes are incredible. Like, please don't stop teaching. And that kind of led me, like I said, to India. And that's what gave me more clarity that there's so much more to this path, and that people are really receptive when they're in this space and they're dropped out of their mind and into their bodies and into presence. And when you can weave the truth of like really what yoga was brought here to do, which is to touch us into these energies and the bigger picture, the biggest consciousness that's weaving its way through. That's when I started to really see people transform. So it was through my yoga teaching. I was pretty successful in San Francisco. I started something called silent disco yoga conscious parties, and I would, as a nutritionist, I got a bunch of like there's a lot of really great vegan and healthy food bars, and coconut waters and kombuchas, and we would go out into nature. And I had a DJ, a roommate of mine was a DJ, and another roommate of mine had silent disco headphones, and I created conscious parties because I saw that there was all these people making a lot of money in the tech industry, and they weren't actually oftentimes very, very happy. They made a lot of money. They felt like they were super successful, but yet they were really craving connection. They were first, and you can only connect to someone else as connected as you are to yourself, which is one of the reasons why I love yoga, because it's a very like deep, interconnected experience. And so what I did was I started creating these conscious parties on Friday nights where like I was like, how can I create an event that's fun enough for people to want to try yoga that maybe aren't really into yoga? And from that space, they connect to themselves, and then therefore they can connect to healthy food. They don't have the hangover the next day. They have great conversations. They feel in their body. And so this is what kind of like really, and then from one thing happened to another, and kind of diving deeper into the trails. And then I left and, started traveling for 2 years again. And then, yeah, it's just all kind of like an organic evolution to where now like I hold tantric temples with my partner, which when I first started going to tantric temples, it was super edge for me because it's almost like medicine circles where medicine, let's say like ayahuasca, the medicine is ayahuasca. It is this literal medicine that connects you and moves you beyond yourself and moves you into this collective experience that is beyond really your mind. Well, in Tantra and Tantric temples, we do something very similar, but we use sexuality as the medicine. And so it's literally like you go into this whole different world where time transcends, your experience transcends, you move into your body and then beyond your body, and you get to access sexual energy. It's like you're on like a 3-day or a 6-day LSD trip where sexual energy is like the medicine. It's really interesting. And so once I started discovering this realm, it was like, wow, this is truly next level because I'm not using anything outside myself. I'm using one of the most powerful parts of myself that I've been so afraid of and so ashamed of. And it's actually drawing us closer together rather than pushing us apart, which is oftentimes when you bring up in sexuality, which is where a lot of like the contraction and the separation can start to come in our human relating dynamics.
Wow. I love it. And did you mean literally 3 to 6 day, these tantric temples, or just like how it felt?
Yeah.
Literally?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun experience for sure. I have learned
Yeah.
With tantric experience, it's just because I just really understand how to allow my energy to go wherever it wants to go, which is unlimited. I didn't always know how to do this, but it's just because it's become important to me to live my life day to day, and at least an energy of peace and content, and allowing momentum to take me up to some of the higher frequencies, which again we label as, in English we have words like bliss, euphoria, ecstasy, nirvana, and that's as really as strong energy as we can describe. However, frequency can go beyond that, and what you were describing, like a 3 to 6 day LSD trip, is an example of if we wanted to just try to describe even more powerful frequency. I've learned to not go to tantric. What I was meaning, not go to tantric events as a single guy by myself, because it makes me want to like go much further. And if I don't have a partner, so I've been invited to go to tantric events before, which I've gone here in like Miami, just because like I had a podcast with someone that was putting it on, and so they were like, "Come to this," and like for sure. And then after it ended, I'm like, dude, I need someone to like take this experience like further. And just that specific night, that wasn't available. I was like, no, this sucks. Same reason I don't go to, yeah. So that was just a side note. That had nothing to do with the actual experience. But it's just fun, like when we realize that our frequency can go to these places, because I really believe that once we access a frequency once and we know it's there, then we can move back to it much more frequently and beyond it. And it's infinite, it's unlimited, to where as a guy, like there was a time, Amanda, where I used to think that I was so envious of you ladies, because I thought the only ones of us that could have like an orgasm and continue on with a sexual experience was the woman. I'm like, damn, you guys can just have like multiple orgasms. Like it's just, as a guy, like once we orgasm, like that's the end of it for us. Like that's what I thought. And I really believe that's what most guys think.
That's what's taught.
Yeah, I feel like that's what most guys think, that an orgasm is when we ejaculate. And it's just not true at all. And without it becoming important to live my life in just a frequency where I don't need the external stimulation in order to feel good, to feel at peace, to allow momentum to take me to joy or happiness or love or whatever, then I started finding frequencies that going into like a sexual experience where I was already going in like in a really cool place, a cool frequency, and then allowing the awesome experience to take me up to another place where I'm like, whoa, I'm having a full body orgasm, energetic orgasm, don't need to ejaculate. It's just like, I can do what these ladies have been doing all along. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And this is something that's not taught, no. You know, it's so painful almost for me to like understand where the majority of people sit, both men and women, in the lack of sexual understanding of what's possible for each and every single one of us. You know, like there is so much more capable for us, and that's one of the reasons why I love Tantra, is because it's not about the goal, it's not about the end game. There is no end game. Like when you are fully present, fully dropped in, fully in your body, there is, I mean, you can have an anklegasm, you know, that shoots layers and layers of erotic energy, you know, up your spine and throughout. And there's just so much that you can do. I mean, even just with an eye gazing, it's just so powerful. And yet we are programmed in our society to be so outside of our mind. You know, we're so in everywhere else other than what's present. And I think that this is one of like the biggest challenges that we face today in our modern century. It's like, how can we, even with technology and with all the choices and all the options, how can we still remain connected to one of, I believe, what is one of the most powerful pieces of our humanity, which is presence and like all that exists in this moment. This is where the frequency lies. It doesn't lie in the $1 million that you're trying to manifest, or the partner, or the sexual peak experience. It lies like here and now. And when we can access that, that's really, that embodiment is what creates the law of attraction, as you were speaking into, which is like the vibrational resonancy that's put out and then reflected back into the universe, because it's all just one big mirror. And yeah, it's really beautiful, like where we're at and how this knowledge gets to get shared, because I think it's just so important for everyone. Like, who doesn't want to have amazing full body orgasms and or bliss every day, not dependent upon whether there's corona or whether there's not corona, you know?
For sure. Corona has not stopped my experience of life in any way, except I'm not allowed to go to the beach, which I know some people out here in Miami that have chosen to still like be rebellious and do it. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. It's not in alignment with me to face like jail time for anything. So it was like, if that's a possible outcome out of the possibilities, I'm like, I'll just hang out. I can see the beach. I can see the ocean. It's right here. But it's just like, I'll chill, and I can't go to the gym. But everything else, I can do. And so just allowing synchronicity, like it always works, where all I can control is what's my vibe in this moment. And then the universe knows what fulfills me, what's fun for me, and I can attract to me those things out of the options that I can do right now, attract those things and still be able to enjoy, life the way I like to enjoy life. I want to point out something, Amanda, you said that's so important, because at one point in my life, my greatest weakness was not appreciating the present moment, being so like, I'll be happy when, and focus on the future and all of these things. Like, I actually needed to attract Eckhart Tolle's power of now, which the way that it came is just like, I love saying like the universe is so obvious when it comes to synchronicity. I moved into this place with 5 roommates in LA, and the only thing left in the whole house was 4 spiritual books in like the corner of the garage. And I had heard of a couple of them, so it made me respect all of them, and I saw the power of now. And at that time, I could probably say it was the only time that I was really in a consistent, just not feeling good, not excited about life. Like, you probably will call me depressed. It's just, I wasn't excited about anything. I was pretty lost as far as direction. It's about a decade ago. And I read that book, and it immediately gave me some new awareness. And it wasn't just like rainbows and fairy tales and sunshine from that point on. But that was like my first like kind of slap in the face, like, Noel, like all that exists is right now. And now a decade later, by far my greatest strength, and then what that leads to is what Amanda was describing, because we can't access the frequencies that we're talking about if you're having an enjoyable experience, whether it's sexual or not. But say you're having a sexual experience, and then all of a sudden you lose presence. You're like, I wonder, are they enjoying it? Or I wonder, should I be doing this? Or is this okay? I mean, all these things that can come into play. Well, guess what happened to your energy? Momentum that maybe was going, it just stops, because you just went to worry or doubt or fear, and now your energy is going in a totally different direction. So the only way to reach those frequencies is, because none of us are going to go from like frustrated to like bliss in a snap of a finger. That's just not how energy works. But you can allow yourself to return back to peace. And then from peace, we can have awesome synchronicities happen, or awesome ideas or life experiences, where now momentum can start to carry us to some of these frequencies, where now you're touching frequencies like we're talking about that, we can't even describe. So presence that's all I care about, is because it's all that exists, is our right now moment. Because even when we get to these things that we want to, accomplish or achieve, or relationships that we want to have, or whatever it might be for you out there, even when we get to that point, it's not promised to us, like all this promises right now for one. That's the main reason I'm so hyper-focused on the present, because it's all that's truly promised. Like, we all assume that we're going to wake up tomorrow, and all of us listening to this podcast, I'm sure we will. However, it's not truly promised, so why take for granted this moment and this moment and this moment, when we can, maybe it's not the most blissful moment that we ever had right now during, what's going on. It doesn't also have to be the worst moment that we've ever experienced either. It's truly a choice, so I love it.
So beautiful. Yeah, there was something that you said, which I think it reminded me. I was speaking to a friend today, and I see a lot of these, like, these memes around being really bored. And I just don't even, bored isn't even a word that's really in my experience ever. And I think that one of the things that's so, so, so powerful right now for all the people listening is that if you ever feel bored, like, we live in the age of the internet. There are so many things that you have available to you that people have never had available in their entire lifetimes. Whether you want to learn a new language, whether you want to like have a rockin' body, whether you want to learn tantra, whether you like, there is absolutely no excuse for you to be bored today. Like, you have more time. It's all about perspective, how you look at things, right? There's that quote, like, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's like, you can see this as like, oh my God, what are we doing? This sucks. I don't have friends. I can't go out. I can't. Or you can be like, wow, what are the things I've always wanted to do, but have continued to tell myself the story that I don't have enough time? Utilize this as an opportunity, because you have more time now than ever. As Mother Earth has taken a pause, it's like, here you go, sweetheart. Use this. This is a gift, really, is the way that I see it anyway.
Absolutely. I love that. I've been encouraging everybody, just like you just said, Amanda, to be super introspective right now and ask yourself, what areas of life would you like to see momentum start to be created in? And it's awesome, because just like when we go into like the end of a year and everybody like starts to make their New Year's resolutions, my advice whenever someone brings up anything thinking about like next year or in the future, I'm like, let's create some momentum right now. because
Yeah.
whenever that future date is, wouldn't it be way more fun? Like it's almost like if you're in a race, like who's going to have a better race? Whether someone that starts from the starting line and then they say go, or someone that gets like a running head start and then say go, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
they're already
Yeah.
way up there.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're
Yeah.
competing, but
Exactly.
it's just momentum. Like it's real. So this is a great time to, yeah, like Amanda said, if you want to learn a new language or anything, to just start taking the first step and just get some momentum going and some excitement, and you'll be very happy that you did, because literally what you said is all I've done like during this whole period is ask myself, what can I do, and what areas of life do I want to see evolve, and it really is the areas of life that I already had going. So it wasn't like I was starting from the standstill in the race analogy, but I'm able to put more energy now on things like podcasts and things that I'm creating, as far as my big vision for humanity, and still being hyper focused on the present moment and just enjoying it as much as possible. So I agree. I see that a lot with the bored memes. I'm not saying you're wrong for being bored. It's just it's interesting perspective. You can
Yeah. Yeah. You choose your reality,
yeah. I love it. I love it. So when it comes to the things that you're teaching, Amanda, because I always want to make sure when I'm ever having these conversations with awesome humans, a conversation I would want to have with you anyway, just what's something that you love sharing with your clients, or some things that you just want to make sure that people hear from you whenever they hear this episode, whether it's right now live or when it's released in a few weeks or 100 years from now, just things that like it will make an impact on their lives. You've already been doing it the whole episode, so not really asking you a different question.
Yeah, wow, that's such a good question and such a potent question. What I really believe that we're in that time right now of getting to do is to change the way that we show up for ourselves, show up for each other, and show up for the planet. And for a long time, we've had this, I believe, slightly unconscious narrative, which is like you have to, be bigger, better, stronger, faster. You have to work hard in order to make it. There's all of these kind of slogans that we've just adopted to be our reality. Good things don't come to people who wait. These types of things. And conscious languaging is so, so important, because like words, whether spoken or unspoken, are vibrational frequencies that, again, like we spoke about many times in this episode, get reflected out and then come back to us. And one of the things that I am so passionate about right now is helping people understand the vibration of what we call pleasure, and all the ways in which we prevent ourselves from feeling pleasure inside our human experience. And this can show up. I used to work with entrepreneurs who suffered a lot from burnout, like this goal-driven mentality. I just have to get there. And if I don't, I have to work hard in order to make it happen. And I'm suffering every present moment by moment by moment for something that I hope one day will bring me what I desire. And to women, I work a lot with women, helping them understand the pleasure frequency in their body. I mean, there is this, the self-image, the food culture that we have, the diet culture that we have, the guilt and shame around enjoying, whether it's a glass of wine or a chocolate cake, or, everything is about balance, and everything is about fluidity and allowing, to yourself to experience what feels good to me and what's aligned to me, and am I coming from a wholesome place. But bringing pleasure, like my invitation is for anyone who's listening to ask yourself, what's my relationship with pleasure and my body and my sex and my relationship to work and my relationships in general and my relationship to time, which I think is huge. A lot of people have an unconscious narrative as there's not enough time and I have to do all these things before I can enjoy myself in whatever way. And really what I'm supporting right now, I work a lot more with women than men, but it's like, how can I begin to open up the ability for me to receive more pleasure in my life and create my reality from this expansive space rather than this more contractive space, if you will. So yeah, my encouragement is just to help people begin to tap into that pleasure frequency and ask themselves, how can they invite it more in? And oftentimes there's shame or guilt that prevents us from fully owning our pleasure, whether it's in bed or in, with food or whatever it is. And so this is something that I'm very fascinated by, and it relates a lot to the body and to, relationships and everything in between.
This is my favorite part of life, Amanda. I love it so much. I love that you just shared that with the audience. And I just set an intention just now while you were sharing that just popped into my mind that I'm so excited about. Can I share?
Yes, please.
I'm going to share anyways. But I'm so excited because it just sparked when you were just talking about the pleasure frequency. What popped in my mind, I was like, if I was a girl, because I've always been fascinated by you guys as far as just how your bodies work and just what I talked about before, thinking that only you guys could have like multiple orgasms and like still enjoy life and all those things. And I've even gone as far as say things like, because there's no like, ejaculating when you guys are orgasming, that if I was like a girl and like I was like out on the beach, like I would probably be, it would be just a different experience. It would be like a different experience. Like you guys have like little toys that are like this small that you could like have the vibrating thing. Like you guys have a different experience. But I just set an intention just now because every morning, like my morning practice is I wake up, use the bathroom, drink some water, and then I'll meditate to just get into a frequency that I like to be in to start the day, to feel connected. Like I don't require myself to be at like bliss, but I want to feel like at peace, like to start the day, because from that frequency, it's just more fun to live life. You have awesome synchronicities that can happen, ideas, all these things. Also, I can feel if my frequency slips to being anxious about something or worried about something. It's a dramatically different frequency than being at peace or being excited or passionate or whatever it is. And so that's been my practice for a while. What I just set the intention for just now, because it started with if I was a girl, I would. And then immediately got the download of, dude, you know how to do that. Like you could do that. So I want to start having like just energetic orgasms like during the morning as well. Because I've been seeing you guys talk more about this, especially, coaches like you, Amanda, that are helping people tap into the pleasure frequency. And I know that this is a part of like the practice as far as like giving yourself this pleasure frequency and these feelings. So I literally just set that intention and I'm very excited about it now because we can even, and I know you know this and I'm sure you teach this, like as we're hitting those frequencies, like we can set intentions and things that we desire in our life and like just basically rocket them out into the universe. Just like so powerful as far as manifestation tools. So I'm so happy about this. I'm so excited about it. I'm not going to even wait to the morning practice. When we finish this podcast, I'm going to do it.
That's it. Yeah, this is a huge piece of like sex magic. And I teach a lot about this. I have a couple courses actually. One of them is ready. The other one is still in the works. But it's about understanding like our electromagnetic field and how when we are in a space of orgasm, our electromagnetic polarity, our frequency is the strongest, at one of the strongest points think about it. Whenever you're at orgasm, it's like full body electromagnetic, almost shock, whether it's with yourself or with someone else. And so some of the practices in sex magic is when you begin to create a prayer, an intention, and a ritual and calling that in through your physical being, especially when you're at peak or at climax. Like you said, your electromagnetic field is so strong that your magnetic polarity comes in, and this is how you manifest, by using your sexual energy. So I highly encourage all people to begin this practice, and I promise you will have much more pleasure in your life, and you'll probably be more pleasurable to be around, even if you already are pleasurable, because everybody knows like that just after sex glow, everybody's super happy, they're feeling really good. Why not like embrace this more, especially in an intentional way? Like it's not even just about like, again, an ejaculation or an orgasm. It's about increasing your ability to receive more pleasure in all aspects of your life. Yes, first through the physical being and what's here now, but then of course what's pulling itself towards you based upon your intention and your actions that are aligned with that intention. So I look forward to hearing more about how your pleasure practices go.
Awesome. You will be the person to thank, because literally this conversation just sparked. I've never thought about that before, just this conversation when you were sharing that. So it was time. This is a great example of what I share. Like once we're open to new awarenesses coming in, I shared this at the beginning of the episode, it's like it never stops for as long as we're here on this planet. And it just makes it so much fun because I've never thought that thought ever before. I never thought to incorporate that in my morning practice, and now it's happening. Not even just in the morning. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
One other thing that I want to make sure that I share with the audience, and you know this, Amanda, is really awesome once we start, being mindful of our own energy, because that's all we can control is like what our frequency is. But what's really cool is when we're mindful of that and we bring that to a co-creation with someone else, whether it's a sexual experience or whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be a sexual experience, but I prefer to talk about these because the frequency just for me goes even higher. Side note, I'm super excited for the possibility that there is a physical, because we're physical, we're, even though we're housing these non-physical energies, I'm excited for the possibility that there could be a physical activity that allows my frequency to go to a higher place than a sexual experience. I don't know if that's possible. That's why I'm just like, this is my favorite part of life by far. Like, it's not even a close second. So I'm just leaving open to the possibility that I discover something one day that's like, this is even better than sex.
Let me know when you get there. Let me know. Share it with the world. Come on,
Noel. Just leaving open to the possibility, but it's we'll see. But my point is, like, it's awesome when we're mindful of our own frequency and we can allow ourselves to bring that to a co-creation, and then we can tap into the frequency of where our partner is, and they can tap into ours, and then where we can go together. It's like the ability, this has been fascinating for me just in the last year, Amanda, where, like, because of being able to have my own energetic orgasms, now it's like they always happen whenever my partner's orgasm. It's just like I can feel it because I'm going up there at the same time. So it's like now it's like, and literally to like, there's no difference in like the time. Like, it's not like they orgasm and then it's like, it feels like it's like literally at the same. It's pretty nuts, and it's just being tapped in and tuned in to basically creating one frequency, together during the experience. So that's another level of it that I highly recommend everybody become open to and aware of, because it's fun.
Yeah, and I think the more connected we are, like I said before, like the more connected we are to ourselves, the more connected we can connect to others, and like we're all just vibrations attracting. So when, especially in sex, let's just use this as an example, when the woman is very open and she's fully like, sex is the best when the woman is fully open and her ability to receive, because then it creates this, it's a circuit. I mean, if you look in the tantric text, like you see like lingam, yoni, like moves the energy up and through, so it's this powerful, it literally is like the polarity of the man, the cock is to give, to penetrate, and the polarity of the woman is to receive. And when that is received, it's like this cycle of energy that's just so powerful, and it can be used in so many different ways and aspects. And once we tap into that through the physical, which is why I believe sex is so important in awakening human consciousness to this level, because if we can understand that at the physical, then we can begin to understand, feel the energetic principles. And then we can use that polarity and play with that polarity beyond the physical, like Qigong and Tai Chi and all these practices that don't seem so physical, let's say, as lifting weights, but you begin to tap into this subtle energy and you begin to understand how it works and how it moves. And then this can be put into your passion projects and what you're birthing into the world beyond babies. And not that babies are wrong or bad, that's great if that's how you want to utilize this sexual energy, perfect. And there's still so much more. So beautiful path, and for those people who are interested, like it opens up doorways to doorways to doorways to doorways, and that's what's so powerful, I think.
Awesome. So this conversation is so much fun. I mean, I could talk to you for so long, and I just really appreciate you and want you to share with the audience anything that you want to share. You already mentioned having a course available, another one coming. You guys definitely want to connect and follow Amanda. And just what I know about life, and it's so much fun, once I connect with someone, is the same beautiful energy that you're sharing with us right now in this episode. Everything that you're flowing this energy into, no matter what it is, as long as you're here, like, we'll be able to feel that, tap into that, and you're being an example of who all of us truly are. You're being the light. And just side note for everybody out there, whenever we recognize in someone else like their awesomeness, their greatness, the awesome things that they're doing, it's a reflection of us. So it's great. Like, we can root for each other and be excited for each other and use each other to inspire us to go just get clear on what things we want to bring forth into the world. And also on the other end, if you find yourself criticizing or being judgmental of another human being, also a reflection of you. So great place to start if you're wanting to allow yourself to evolve. That's a good place to start if you constantly find yourself pointing out things that maybe you don't like in others or yourself or humanity or whatever it is. So, but I appreciate you so much, and anything that you want to share with the audience or any other direction that you want this conversation to go, I don't have any time limits on these, so I could talk to you forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the tantric philosophy, it's always about giving a little and then creating mystery and like waiting for the next connection to occur. So I love to just play my life like that, like why give everything all at once when there's so many goodies that we can continue to like tune into at different points in time, knowing that there's no rush to get anywhere. But for people who are interested, like, this has been a really creative time for me. I have been doing a lot behind the scenes. Like, we have a lot of different things coming up from on the full moon. This is the thing that's most present. We're doing a full moon ritual and breath work ceremony. I'm connecting with another friend of mine, and this is really about dropping. I mean, to me, everything is spirit, everything is sacred, everything is divine. So even my sex is about worshiping and honoring, and all of the practices that I have on my website are about that as well. But we have things from like more than two, how to like cultivate a conscious threesome, to how to attract a conscious man, to, I mean, we have a ton of courses on womb wisdom, and there's just so much information that we have and little events that we have happening for this time. I think we even have a dirty talk one coming up, like while you're away from maybe your lovers, or like doing all this online dating, like how to create this polarity through the languaging in our words. And all of that, like for people who are just interested in this world, there might be some things for you and some things not for you, whether it's a course or an event online that we're doing, can be found at instituteofintegratedintimacy.com. And we do a lot of free stuff. We also do like paid events through Eventbrite, online things and workshops and trainings and things like that. So that would be what I might share with the audience, that if they're interested in learning more, they can always dive into that.
Definitely. I love it. Follow the inspiration. It's a great next step for us on our journey. When we're ever, if there's any type of curiosity, that energy of curiosity, follow that. And there's a life experience there that, even if it's just one simple, like following someone on social media, like, I like what they're sharing, like I want to connect with this person more. Great next step on our journey. There's some life experience there, which leads to clarity, which leads to more focus and all the good things like that we want. So highly, highly recommend that. And I like how you put that, as far as leaving some for, for mystery, for more. A great reason for that is because we can have awarenesses at any time, just like I just had during this conversation. And now people that I'm talking to, like in the future, will have, I couldn't share that before because I hadn't had the awareness yet. So now it's conscious. So now I get to share it whenever I choose to share it. So beautiful conversation.
Beautifully put.
Yeah. Can you show us your background before we let you go, Amanda?
Yeah.
I love it. For the folks that didn't see it.
It is a rainy day in Thailand. Beautiful. It's rainy season here. This is my patio. I can even show you my altar. Might as well just come over here and you guys can see. This is kind of where I do my morning practices out, and just thanking Pachamama for all the beauty and all the blessings and all the abundance that's here, both seen and unseen. And this is where some of the rituals take place. So yeah, this is beautiful Thailand.
I love it. Definitely high. I've already told Amanda this. High up on my places where I will discover and explore here. I'm sure in the near future, when traveling becomes available again for all of us.
That's it. Anticipation, another practice of Tantra.
Absolutely. Being able to be okay where we are, and be able to enjoy life where we are, and also excited for whatever is evolving, whatever is coming, is how I enjoy living. Like I don't need to travel to places in order to be happy. I'm happy now, and when I travel there, I'll be happy. It'll be
100%.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your love and light with us. And you guys out there, definitely share this episode with anyone just share it with everyone. It'll be some inspiration for anyone that hears this, for sure, if they're attracted to listen. And thank you guys that have been rating and reviewing the podcast. You've been making it easier for people to find. And there's no rule on iTunes that says you can't leave multiple reviews. So go ahead and leave a review saying that Amanda Human was awesome and what you learned from her, and just giving her just tons of love. And I'll make sure I screenshot them and send them to her. I'm sure she will gladly receive your love back and reflect it back to you for sure. And just appreciate you all, that we're all in this together, all 7.7 billion of us on this earth, probably more. And I just love being able to co-create with all of you in 2020 and beyond. And it's a fun journey that we're all having right now. It's just an awesome time to be alive, and just happy to be sharing it with all of you out there. So goodbye for now. Appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you guys soon on another episode. I'm gonna end the stream with you guys. Bye, Facebook and YouTube world. Amanda, you're awesome. It's so much fun.
Thank you so much. So good.
Don't leave yet, Amanda. I'm ending the stream. I want to say bye to you.